President Trump is touting new trade deals with several Asian countries. He says Japan will invest $550 billion in the U.S. and face 15% tariffs. Trump also announced a 19% tariff for the Philippines and Indonesia. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand is at the White House with more on all this. So break down these trade agreements for us, Natalie. How are the markets feeling?
Good morning. Well, stocks up as markets opened this morning on news of this big trade deal with Japan, the U.S.'s fifth largest trading partner. And I think what markets are also signaling is hope that there could be additional deals before the August 1st deadline. Now, I am still trying to get more information, the details, the specifics about the U.S.-Japan trade deal. So far, what we know is mostly what the president himself has posted, saying that Japan has agreed to open up its markets, that the tariff will be 15% now. That's down from the 25% tariff that he proposed. And also this $550 billion investment, he says, by Japan in the U.S., with the U.S. getting the vast majority of the profits. Now, asked about how that would work, Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, speaking to Bloomberg, said that Japan will finance selected projects such as pharmaceuticals or semiconductors, but that they will be operated by U.S. or non-Japanese companies. Again, that's some new information from the Commerce Secretary. As you were seeing on the map, the administration has also announced a framework for a deal with Indonesia, saying that markets would open up there in exchange for now a 19% tariff rate. And then obviously the Philippines, the president here yesterday meeting with President Trump in the Oval Office, Trump saying that that tariff will now be 19% as well. And in one of many posts this morning, he says, quote, "I will only lower tariffs if a country agrees to open its markets, if not much higher tariffs." So a new threat and warning there, again, ahead of this deadline, which comes just 1 week from Friday, Vlad.
Okay, let's pivot now, Natalie, and talk about this other major headline that we're following, the fallout over the Epstein files. President Trump has continued to deflect when he's asked about the convicted sex offender. What's his strategy here?
Yeah, well, as you said it, Vlad, it's distract and pivot to a different topic of conversation. It was actually CBS News' Ed O'Keefe who was in the Oval Office yesterday trying to ask him, about the new developments with the DOJ asking for statements or to talk to Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker. Well, when he was asked about that, he said he doesn't know much about that, but then went on to try to talk about what his director of national intelligence is posting about, which she says is new evidence alleging the Obama administration manipulated intelligence about 2016 and Russian meddling, really in an attempt to undermine the Trump presidency back then. Here's what the president said yesterday, even suggesting that the DOJ should go after predecessors and former Obama officials. Take a listen.
It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election.
Now, a spokesman for former President Obama responded, saying in part, these bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Also noting, long established and bipartisan congressional findings that while Russia worked to influence or meddle in the 2016 presidential election, it did not manipulate any votes. That was the finding of congressional investigations, including one led by former Senator Marco Rubio.
An important detail there, Natalie Brand, for us.